Okay, so let's show you guys how I do what I'm gonna call the 5-7 bloom stitch, which is a variation on a bloom stitch I did in a previous pattern, but it's not exactly the same. This is what it looks like when completed, but not yet blocked. Okay, kind of like you used the pink yarn to make this little bloom stitch, and it's actually going to start with 5 stitches and end with 7 stitches, so it's also an increase. All right, so I've got my yarn and I have knit up to the point where the yarn starts to change color. You can decide, maybe if you work this out on a swatch beforehand, if you get a little bit of shadowing, if you don't mind of the color, if you don't mind if it's in the beginning or if it's at the end, you get to decide. But I have found that this length, which is what's going to come in my kit, is good for this 5-7 bloom stitch. Okay, so you start, let's see, I knit up, I got maybe one more green there, and then it's really starting to change color. So you have to start with 5 double wrap knit stitches. So that's knit, but wrapping it twice, see? Then do it again. And then again. And then again. Okay, let's see, that's 4. I need one more. Okay, so I'm starting with, you see 5 double wrap stitches there. Okay, now I'm going to kind of work them again, but I need to slip them back onto the other needle. I'm going to do it in a slightly unusual way. Okay, I'm picking up this back leg with the left needle, okay, the back leg, and then sliding it over. And because they're not going to get loose because I've dropped this extra stitch, if you have trouble with that, I just hold it over here with my thumb. So I'm going to do that to all 5. Okay, now I've got all 5, you see, and they're all big long stitches now. And they're also twisted on the left needle. You'll notice the left leg is in front. So now I'm going to push them all together and knit through the back loop. Okay, I'm knitting through this back loop, but I'm doing it with all of them. So if I put my needle through all of them and kind of squish them together as if they were one, and then I'm wrapping and pulling that through. Okay, so that's knitting at once. And I don't want it too short. I want this stitch to be kind of long, and then I'm wrapping it again, okay, in the back, and then I'm gonna knit through again, okay, and then wrap, okay, and then knit through again, okay. If you squish them together, that's a little easier. And you can count. I can see I've done it 5 times. See, there's 5. There's 5, but I need 7. So I'm going to wrap again. Okay. So I knit again, and then I knit again. So that's now 7. And you can see there's a knit, and then a wrap, and then a knit, and then a wrap, and then a knit, and a wrap, and then a knit. And there should be 7. Okay, and the yarn should be, see, starting to change back color. And you want to just make sure, like, pull that first one that you did long enough so that you can work all the 7 stitches. Okay, and then you're gonna now you go ahead and take it off the left needle. Okay, and then we're just gonna start knitting the next stitches. And I'll come back again in a minute to show you how to finish the top, because you are going to be filling in a gap here and a little tiny gap here. Okay, so this is my end of round. And let me show you what I do at every end of round. I am actually wrapping the yarns around each other. You can see maybe in this unblocked that there's just a little bit of a tension difference, but I find that so far for me has been the best way to go about it. So I'm wrapping, let's see, do this right. That's the one I'm finishing. This is the new one, and I'm wrapping it like kind of this way, even. And so now I'm actually, this round I'm actually switching to the solid green. So there's probably only one wrap there. So I'm switching to this solid green. But I do want to wrap them around each other so that the transition right here is a little bit smoother. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you how I actually finish up. Now the 5/7 bloom stitch is actually completed, and I could just knit this as normal, but if I did that, it leaves a rather big hole right here, and I've kind of filled in the hole with this step, actually the hole on both sides here, with the step I'm about to show you. Now this is actually the round immediately following the round where I do the bloom stitch, and I'm actually using the solid green yarn here. So all I do is go in here and knit this as normal, knit as normal, and then here's where I do something different. I actually pick up this lower stitch here, and from the round below, put it on my left needle. And okay, here's the trickiest part, is I'm actually gonna knit this one and the first pink one together. So I'm not increasing again. Still got the same stitch count. Oops, I don't want to split that. That's the hardest part. I'm knitting those two together. And what it does is it just pulls up from the round below, so you don't get like a big hole there. Still, until I, block it or something, it's still like a little bit of a looser stitch. But it just fills in the hole, and I like that. And then you've got to go down here and knit these other ones. And it's a little fiddly because you're going to pull them apart. You should be able to see them. Okay, so just knit those as normal. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6. Now this last one I actually do, it does not as big a hole to fill in, but I still do the same thing. It's a little trickier to see. See the left leg right there? Left leg, and I'm picking it up behind and putting it on the left needle. Okay, the hardest part is making sure this pink one doesn't slip off when you do that. And I suppose if this was really tricky, you could skip that one because it's not filling in as big a hole, but I do it. I've done it. And then you just knit them together, okay? Just fills in the hole a little bit, and then you go on and knit the rest of the round. And I'm at the end of my cowl, so I have like four actually of those bloom stitches to knit in the round, but you won't have that in the beginning. You'll have 2 or 3, and sometimes you might have a row with 5, depending on how, when you end and when you start and how many stitches, but and where you are in this sequence with the pink. But in this last round, I actually have 4 of those bloom stitches that I need to finish like this. And there you go. That is the fully completed 5/7 bloom stitch.